don't need no education.
And the library, I think, is a huge asset and is essential service, and is probably the number one service for most students, if not all. But the library is not mentioned at all in your manifesto, and so it's not addressed. And I'm just wondering why, or do you have any problems with the library? If not, that's great. But if you do have any problems, what do you think they are, and how would you address them if you do get elected?
All right. Well, first of all, I'll answer the question on why it's not in my manifesto. The library is a topic that comes up for debate in every educational campaign every year. I understand it's a cornerstone of UCD. It's a massive issue. But I feel that it's a given, if you understand where I'm coming from. I feel that it's something that should be there, and it's a I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. It's an idea, or it's a topic that should be on every agenda. Mm-hmm. Now the reason it's not in my manifesto is I want to implement my own ideas there. The library, of course, is one of the main priorities of the education officer. But I feel that the manifesto is my new ideas. The library and the improvement of the library is not a new idea, but of course it's one of the things that will always be on the top of the agenda. If you're elected or I'm elected, it'll always be the top of both our agendas.
But by saying that, if you're saying that the library is a given, and I understand what you mean while saying that, but then the grants would be a given, for instance, or fees would be a given. That I can't remember the last education officer now who would say they're in favour of fees. So you're in favour of free education, I am too. So that's in both of our manifestos. But you also mentioned the grants and how you want to move everything to electronic and stuff, and that's fantastic. It was in my manifesto last year. It's been in my previous manifestos for education officers before, but it's almost a given, similar to what the library is. So then, if you feel that the library is a given, why did you add the stuff in that you're in favour of free fees, or that you believe multi-grants should move to?
That's a fair point. I'll address that by saying, as I said, they're both, as you said yourself, they're both givens. Obviously, top of the agenda for any education officer. Fees and grants, I'm not trying to take away from the library, but those two topics for any student in UCD would be to the forefront of their minds. Okay, I personally believe that in my manifesto.
Not grants, essentially. Only 42%. Only is 42 is a huge number, but the majority of students in UCD aren't on grants. So
I disagree. I think I don't disagree that that's the majority. That's not the majority, but I would honestly believe that number is going to increase quite significantly in the coming. Over the summer period when college resumes in September of next year. I honestly think that number will increase. Sam, in your manifesto you have an interesting piece on 21st century technology. I won't deny I like the idea. iTunes U, UCD app. In last year's manifesto you had the idea of a text service for cancelled lectures. Two things on that. One, if you had an idea in terms of technology in your first manifesto that wasn't implemented this year, how can you guarantee that these two will be there? Also, what I would like to say is, in terms of the UCD app, not every student has access to an Android, a BlackBerry, an iPhone. I understand that there are some non-smartphones, very few though, that can support an app, but at a very sort of reduced running level, if you like. That it wouldn't wouldn't provide as many services as say someone with an Android phone would. Sure, yeah. I personally believe in that situation that a lot of students are being marginalised by that. What I'm asking is, in terms of the app there specifically, what would you do for the students who can't have access to it? What alternative would there be in place? And also for the iTunes, a lot of students wouldn't have access, that wouldn't have iPods. Many students don't have iPods.
Well, just for the iTunes U, most students have a laptop, and it's almost kind of a necessity for students.
Not all students do, though.
No, I know. I take that point, and I accept it. But a huge amount of students, I'd say, I wouldn't have figures, because I don't think there are figures now, but let's say a ballpark figure of over 90%, I'd say students would have a laptop, or at least a PC. iTunes is free to download for anyone across the globe, and iTunes U, when it is implemented, will be free for any UCD students to download. And if they have an iPod, iPhone, or iPad, sorry, it's quite hard to say. If a student has one of those three, then obviously they can bring it on the go.
Okay, but Sam, what I was asking in relation to that is, and in terms of the app as well, when you want to get to that point, what about the students who don't? The students who don't have access to that. And look, I realise we're in. But I realise it's 2012. Many students do have laptops. Some may even have PCs. The point is, there are students who don't have either of those. What about those students?
But then that's not making the point about Blackboard. A lot of the students don't have any PCs or any laptops. You know, why did UCD bring in Blackboard?
Blackboard is computers all around campus. I accept that. They use
Blackboard. There's computers all around campus too for ITNU. Just about your experience question, that's essentially just why do you think, or do you think that your experience is enough, and how do you think you're going to overcome such a learning curve in the summer?
Well, I'll address the learning curve question first. I believe that the learning curve is only steep if, from the individual's point of view, it'll be steep when you're going into the job, yes, but it doesn't have to be as steep for you personally if you have the drive and the determination to do well. If you inform yourself, if you educate yourself as quickly as possible on the issues, on the goings in, as soon as you go in, the learning curve won't be as steep.
But obviously, I can only speak for myself, but I'm just going to assume the mantle of every education officer. I would say everyone would have that mindset. I had that mindset last year when I got elected, and it's pretty much as soon as I got elected, and definitely after the exams finished, with a 6-week break between the end of exams and the time I took office, I was doing a lot of reading. Like James, my predecessor, didn't tell me to do any of this, but James was brilliant over crossover, don't get me wrong, but I did a lot of extra reading and stuff, and I presume if you get elected, as you said, you'll do that as well. But it was a steep learning curve for me, and it's a steep learning curve for every education officer. And I have the experience, if I do get re-elected on Friday, I will have a 4-month head start over yourself or Patrick, and then I won't need a learning curve for July or August or September. So
I'll just address it in terms of the 4-month head start. I don't believe you'll have a 4-month head start because you have to complete promises from your previous manifesto.
Absolutely, but I can start promises on the manifesto this year, and
I think people would rather see. Well, just briefly, I'll answer the question. Go back to the question. I just think people prefer you to see complete promises made in the first manifesto.
Absolutely, and I'm working on my manifesto from last year, currently, absolutely, but I've only completed 2/3 of my term as education officer. I've only completed less than 2/3, not even 8 months. But if I do get re-elected, I will continue my focus on last year's manifesto. But of course, I'm going to start things on this year's manifesto, and I have the relationships with members of staff from every area of UCD and nationally as well, in the HEA and in every different in the USI and stuff.
Well, Sam, you've gone about the steep learning curve. I mean, James, for example, education officer when I was in first year, I beg your pardon, when I was in second year, very good job, done it before him. Just because you've done the job already doesn't necessarily mean you'll be brilliant the second time around. No, just let me finish the point. James was a program officer, fair enough, so was Dunnerton. You weren't. You seem to be under it's your opinion that you've done a very good job this year, okay? You weren't a program officer, you made that quite clear. I won't deny, I'm not an SU rep, I'm an academic rep for both third year physiology and both in the Applied Language Centre. Okay, so what I'm saying there is I have experience of administrative staff committees. I've been a peer mentor for 2 years running. I've dealt with students on an individual basis. Some of them, I still deal with them now. The peer mentoring program has sort of officially ended, but I'm still, making sure my peer mentees are all right.
How many peer mentees do you have?
I started off with 12 and then 13. Sorry, I beg your pardon. I started off with 12. I've now been joined by 7. But what I'm saying to you, I understand where you're coming here from saying you deal with much more students than that.
I probably would deal with 12 to 15 students per day, face to face. That doesn't include emails. So I'm just saying that my experience is huge compared to yours. And yes, I take your point that.
Well, Sam, what I'm saying to you is you're saying my relative lack of experience will hinder me. No, just let me finish. Sam, well, you'll say I'll be slower getting into the job.
Absolutely, compared to me.
No, well, Sam, what I'm saying...
I don't think there's any...
Sam,
I don't think you can refute that.
Sam, I'm going to put this to you. What you're saying to me is I'll be slower coming into the job. What I say to you is you seem to be under the illusion that you've done a very good job this year. No, just let me finish, please. You seem to be with the opinion that you've done a very good job this year. What I'm saying to you is last year, people... refuted your claims to be educated. I'm trying to phrase this correctly. People thought you weren't the best candidate for the job because you didn't have experience as a program officer. But as I said, you seem to be of the opinion that you've done a good job in your first year, with, in terms of other people's opinions, relative lack of experience. Do you not believe that I could do a good job with the relative lack of experience. What I'm saying to you is
absolutely. I've Shane, we've had private conversations. We've only kind of known each other the last few weeks, and I think we get on. Obviously, we're against each other in this campaign.
of course, yeah.
But obviously, if you do get re-elected, I think you would do a decent job. But I think I'd do a lot better, and I think having the experience, I know what to improve upon. I know what mistakes I need to rectify. Timing of certain things, what I need to get done, and by this date, by this month, whatever. When I'll be busy, blah blah blah. And I think that the 4-month head start and almost a 6-month head start, because the learning curve, I've already gone through the learning curve. I will get things done a lot quicker in my manifesto compared to yourself or if Patrick gets elected, because I have the 4-month head start and I don't have a learning curve. So I think that is my point, and I think that your experience is nowhere near no, it's not compared at all to mine. It's not even the same football division.
20 seconds to answer that, and then you can ask a question.
Simply, I refute that completely. I believe I do.
But I am the education officer. Like there is no substitute for experience in that position. There is no substitute at all. But there isn't.
You're the education officer. Fair enough. That doesn't mean that you're necessarily the best person for the job.
No, but that wasn't my question. My question was.
Do I have the experience? Yes, I do believe I have the experience.
No, but my question was, I have. Do you think that I have more experience than you?
I think you have more relationships with people than I do. But I think relationships can be formed quite easily with members of staff very quickly. I don't believe that's the be all and end all. In terms of dates can be put on a piece of paper. You don't have that stuck to your wall. Sam, I disagree with you on that topic completely. Sam, in the back of your manifesto, you list I think it's 10 achievements that you have there. I would disagree in saying that many are achievements. You have clinics in different buildings. I'm a science student, and I'll speak just from a science point of view here. I did not see you once come to a clinic in the science building. I know that people in law have not seen you do clinics in Roebuck. Sam, you're making you're listing a lot of things here that are achievements. What I'd like to know is which ones do you honestly believe are achievements and which ones are just manifesto fillers? Because there's quite a few there that I would state are just manifesto fillers. That's
unfortunate that you think that way, Shane. Science, yes, I will admit, myself and Rachel did not get there. We had one organised, and we were going to do one in semester 1, but we were unsure of where best to place it. with the renovations in science at the moment. And
I would disagree there, saying that that's
that was our decision.
It's a joint decision. When I say that both of you were in that case clutching at straws, because it's quite easy to find a busy spot in science, be it the main building, the biology building, the physics building, the current new chemistry building, just to put down a table and sit down there and be able to talk to students.
Sure.
I disagree that finding a place as the building works. I disagree with that point completely.
Okay, well, that was a decision that we came to regarding my law students. I was up in Roebuck. It was week 7, I believe, in semester 1, and I was there with Rachel.
Well, I disagree. Well, then fair enough. If you say you were there, I've heard from it. And okay.
Unfortunately, though, just to address the Roebuck point, there wasn't many students around that day. I suppose with the coffee shop gone in Roebuck, I think students really just go up to Roebuck and then just go back to Quinn or whatever, because there's nowhere to congregate and just chill out or whatever. So a few students did come up to the table, but we were there for the 2 hours. 12 to 2.
Can I ask a quick spin-off question from the clinic questions I asked? As I stated, and I think you may have admitted this yourself, very few students know who you are. Very few.
I don't think I've ever admitted that, but okay.
I know you've I believe again, apologies to the Tribune, it's in the Observer interview, that you're communicating. Well, I suppose in fairness, your awareness communication, fair enough, but your communication with students wasn't particularly good this year. I believe you did admit that. But I can state, and I'll put my hand to my heart when I say this, that when I went around collecting signatures from students to receive my nomination, I asked them, they asked me who the other potential candidates are at that stage, and I said the incumbent, the current education officer is running, and they asked, who's he? What I want to ask you is, what are you going to do to make yourself more known to the students?
Well,
But you haven't done this year.
Absolutely. In your manifesto, you state that a lot about communication, and I think this is where your question probably comes
exactly,
from.
Yeah.
And I agree. Last year when I was when I was a candidate running for the position, I was kind of in a similar situation, similar boat to you. That I thought an education officer could do a lot more to promote themselves. I remember a survey back in, and apologies once again, in the University of Zurich, that out of the 5 sabbatical officers, the education officer was the least recognised, and this was 2 years ago now. But I think being in the job, I think it's a belly of the beast that you are in your office so much, reading policy, developing policy, being there for students, attending meetings, and it's very hard to come out and just for a couple hours a day. And like obviously, say in the evenings, I'm not going to be as busy, but I don't think it's worth my while being out in arts or in science from 4 to 6 on a Thursday evening. Or Friday.
You haven't addressed my question yet, Sam. I'm asking what are you going to do to make yourself more known to students if you're re-elected in September?
What am I going to do? I suppose it goes back to the experience question. Is that I've learned from my mistakes. I know when I can be busy, when I won't be busy, and it's because most meetings, you'll have a meeting in October. That the next time it'll need to be December and stuff. But it takes a while for you to get into the system.
You still haven't answered my question. You've told me that you understand. What are you going to do to make yourself known to the students?
Well, I will know exactly when I'll be free and when I won't be free compared to this time last year.
I'm not asking when you'll be free. I'm asking what you're going to do in the time that you're free.
Well, this year we advertise a lot with posters and stuff, and we can, obviously communication can be better a lot with Facebook, with emails. But I think that would also be, you'd have to talk with the communications officer, and a lot of stuff in your manifesto was about communications. And
communications from the point of view as I'm the education officer. Communications.
But the amount of students that come into me on a day-to-day basis or email me is huge. Like I'm in the office, like the amount of times that I'm in the office quite late, and I'm not giving out about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying.
Well, I do understand. Don't worry, I do understand your meetings just till dawn some days. I do understand.
Yeah, no, but even if some days I've no meetings at all, but it's just replying to emails and dealing with students, getting on top of academics and stuff, and defending students or fighting with students, so I'm quite busy as it is, and I understand the communication does need to be better, but a lot of students need to know where the education office is. Perhaps not who I am as the education officer, but they know that the Students' Union is there to help, and they know that, we go in the corridor, I'll look at the names of the doors, Education Vice President, Sam Gagan, okay. No matter what the name, could be Shane Comer, could be Patrick Woollahan, could be Joe Bloggs, knock on the door, yeah, come in, how you doing, I have a problem with X, Y, and Z, can you help me? Yeah, of course, sit down. I don't think, I'm not in it for the personal recognition or gratification. I'm just in it to help students. It's something to do with who I am, who you are, who Patrick is, who anyone else is. It's about do they know that the Students' Union is there to help them, and it seems to me that they do because I'm quite busy with personal cases.
We don't need no